The shuttle hummed softly as Commander Alex Carter adjusted the straps of his seat. The glow of the distant planet, Scifi, reflected off the viewport. It was beautiful, blue skies and lush greenery, a reminder of Earth. But this mission was far from a simple sightseeing trip. Alex had been tasked with something few humans had ever done: establish peaceful relations with the Tevrani, an enigmatic alien race known for their advanced technology and reclusive nature. As the shuttle descended, Alex's second-in-command, Lieutenant Morgan, leaned over. "You nervous, sir?" Alex chuckled, though his grip on the armrest tightened. "A little. The Tevrani aren't exactly known for rolling out red carpets. Let's hope they're in a welcoming mood." The landing site was a sprawling plaza surrounded by crystalline spires that shimmered in the sunlight. A group of Tevrani representatives stood waiting, their tall, slender forms draped in flowing silver robes. Their features were sharp and elegant, their skin a pale blue that seemed to radiate faint light. Alex stepped forward, his translator device humming as it adjusted to the Tevrani language. He placed a hand over his chest, a gesture of peace his briefing had assured him was universally understood. "Commander Alex Carter, representing the United Earth Alliance. It's an honor to meet you." The tallest of the Tevrani stepped forward, her amber eyes studying Alex with an intensity that made him momentarily uneasy. "I am Elder Valen," she said in a smooth, melodic voice. "We have observed humanity's progress. Your presence here is unexpected." Alex chose his words carefully. "We believe there's much we can learn from each other. Cooperation between our peoples could benefit us both." Before Elder Valen could respond, a sudden tremor shook the ground. Cracks formed in the plaza as a deafening roar echoed through the air. From the nearby spires, debris began to fall, and the Tevrani scattered in alarm. Alex turned to his team. "Get to cover." In the chaos, Alex spotted a young Tevrani woman struggling to free her foot, trapped beneath a fallen beam. Without hesitation, he ran to her, ignoring Morgan's shouts to stay back. The woman's eyes widened as Alex knelt beside her, his muscles straining as he lifted the beam just enough for her to crawl free. "Are you okay?" Alex asked, panting. The woman nodded, her voice trembling. "Thank you. Another tremor struck, and Alex grabbed her arm, pulling her toward safety. As they reached the edge of the plaza, emergency systems activated, stabilizing the area. The woman turned to Alex, her expression a mixture of awe and gratitude. "You saved me. I will not forget this." Before Alex could respond, she slipped away into the crowd. He watched her go, a strange sense of connection lingering in her absence. Morgan approached, shaking his head. "Always the hero, huh?" Alex smiled faintly. "Let's hope it was worth it." Unbeknownst to Alex, this single act of bravery would change the course of his life and humanity's future forever. Years passed, and Alex Carter had become a well-respected diplomat in the United Earth Alliance. The memory of his first encounter with the Tevrani remained in his mind, but life moved on. Missions came and went, and the galaxy seemed to settle into a quiet rhythm. Yet, no matter how much time passed, something about that day never fully left him. One evening, as Alex sat in his quarters aboard the flagship Sirius, he received an unexpected call. The holographic screen flickered to life, and the face of Captain Reynolds, his superior officer, appeared. "Commander Carter, we need you in the briefing room. It's urgent." Alex furrowed his brow. "What's going on?" "There's a distress signal from a Tevrani vessel. They're in deep space, near the Lanthian system. We've got the coordinates. They're asking for help," Reynolds said, his voice tense. Alex stood up immediately. "A Tevrani ship? But why would they contact us?" "Unknown. Get to the briefing room. We'll discuss it there." Alex's heart began to race. After all these years, he was about to be involved with the Tevrani again. He quickly grabbed his jacket and headed to the briefing room, his thoughts racing. In the briefing room, Reynolds and a few officers were already gathered around a holographic display. The coordinates flickered on the screen, showing a remote part of the galaxy. "This signal came through about an hour ago," Reynolds said. "It's from a Tevrani vessel called the Thaloria. They've sustained significant damage and need immediate assistance. But here's the strange part. No one knows who's aboard the ship. It was last seen 2 years ago, and no one expected it to be out here." Alex's curiosity deepened. A ship that's been missing for 2 years, and it just reappears now. "Exactly," Reynolds replied. "And they've specifically requested you, Commander. Your expertise in Tevrani relations." Alex felt a knot form in his stomach. The last time he had seen the Tevrani was when he saved that young woman, Kauri. He hadn't expected to see her again, and now this mysterious distress signal brought him back to the same people he had tried so hard to understand. Was this just a coincidence, or was there something more? "Captain, who is on that ship?" Alex asked, his voice steady but filled with uncertainty. "We don't know." The transmission was garbled, but we've decrypted enough to know it's urgent. "You're our best chance." Without another word, Alex nodded. "I'll go. Prepare a shuttle." The journey to the Lantheon system felt like it took forever. Alex sat alone in the shuttle, staring at the stars as they blurred past. The strange feeling of déjà vu settled over him. Was Kauri somehow connected to this distress signal? And why had the Tevrani chosen now to reach out again? As the shuttle neared the damaged ship, Alex's heart skipped a beat. The Thaloria appeared on the monitors, its once pristine hull now riddled with gaping holes and scorch marks. "Commander, we've established a comlink," the communications officer said, breaking his thoughts. "Patch it through," Alex replied, trying to mask the nervousness in his voice. The screen flickered, and then, there she was. "Alex," Kauri's voice came through, calm but filled with an unspoken urgency. "I never thought I would see you again." Alex sat frozen, staring at the familiar face of Kauri on the holographic screen. Her amber eyes looked tired but sharp, as though she had been through a lot since their last encounter. The ship's hum and the soft beeping of the shuttle systems were the only sounds in the room, but the silence between them felt heavy, as if words could never fully express what was happening. I didn't expect to see you again," Alex said finally, his voice low. He hadn't realized how much he had missed her presence, her calm intelligence. But something about the situation felt wrong, more serious than before. Kauri's lips curved into a small, weary smile, but it didn't reach her eyes. "I didn't expect to reach out to you again, but I had no choice. We need your help." Her voice, though calm, was edged with an urgency that Alex hadn't anticipated. Alex leaned forward. "What happened? How did you end up here?" She took a deep breath, her gaze flickering to the side, as if she were considering how to explain something difficult. "It's a long story. We were exploring ancient ruins, seeking answers about the Arcane Collective. It's a threat, an ancient network of AIs that has been dormant for centuries. But now, they are waking up." Alex's heart skipped a beat. The Arcane Collective. He had heard the stories, rumors about an ancient AI race that had once tried to control the galaxy. They were supposedly gone, lost in the depths of time. If they were truly awakening, it would be a disaster for every living species. "You're telling me the Arcane Collective is real?" Alex asked, trying to make sense of it all. Kauri nodded grimly. "More than real. They've started reactivating, and they have their sights on humanity. They see us as useful, a part of their plan to reclaim the galaxy." Alex felt a chill run down his spine. The thought that humanity, the species that had only recently ventured into the stars, might be used by a dormant AI collective was terrifying. But what did Kauri mean by useful? What was their plan? "Why did you come to me?" Alex asked, struggling to keep his voice steady. "You could have contacted the Tevrani Council." "I couldn't," Kauri said, her voice heavy with regret. "The Tevrani are divided. Some want to form an alliance with the collective, believing they can control it. Others think we should stay out of it entirely. They won't listen to me, not after I insisted that the collective poses a real threat. Alex's mind raced as he processed her words. A war was coming, one where the fate of entire civilizations was at stake, and somehow humanity was right in the middle of it. "You're saying the Tevrani don't see the danger?" Alex asked, his disbelief clear. How could they be so blind? "They're scared," Kellery answered quietly. "The collective is more powerful than any of us can imagine. It controls knowledge, technology, entire star systems. If we don't act fast, it will overwhelm us." Alex could hear the fear in her voice now, the same fear he was starting to feel in his gut. But there was something more, something in her eyes that made him feel as if this wasn't just a mission. It was personal. "What do we need to do?" he asked. Kellery looked directly into his eyes. "You're the key, Alex. The message is hidden in the stars, and it's tied to humanity. Only you can help me unlock it." Alex's heart raced. The fate of the galaxy and his own people was now in his hands. The moment Alex hung up the communication link with Kellery, his thoughts raced. The arcane collective, humanity's role in their revival, and Kellery, the Tevrani woman who had once been a stranger and now was tied to his destiny. Nothing about this made sense, yet everything inside him told him to trust her. But time was running out. "Commander, we got company." Lieutenant Morgan's voice snapped Alex out of his thoughts. The alarm systems aboard the shuttle had begun to blare, the flashing red lights warning of an incoming attack. Alex turned to face Morgan, who was already at the controls. "What's going on?" Alex asked, his voice calm but urgent. "They're coming in fast. Unknown ships, and they're not responding to hails," Morgan said, his fingers flying over the console. "They're armed to the teeth, Commander. This isn't just a coincidence." Alex's heart skipped a beat. He had known something like this was coming, but the timing still unsettled him. Whoever was after Kellery wasn't just going to let her talk freely about the arcane collective. "Any idea who they are?" Alex asked, stepping toward the observation window. "Bounty hunters, most likely," Morgan answered. "The Tevrani aren't the only ones who want her silenced. Whoever sent these ships knows she has information, important information, and they'll do anything to stop her from speaking." Alex's fists clenched. "We're not letting them take her." Morgan nodded sharply, his eyes narrowed. "We'll need to fight our way out of this, Commander." As the enemy ships closed in, Alex realized that this was only the beginning. Whoever controlled the arcane collective had no intention of letting humanity or the Tevrani stand in their way. And Kellery, she was the key to everything. Alex turned to his crew. "Prepare for evasive maneuvers. Morgan, I need you on the weapon systems. Let's show them why they shouldn't mess with us." The battle began almost immediately. The shuttle shuddered as it was hit by a barrage of laser fire. Morgan cursed under his breath as he returned fire, narrowly avoiding an asteroid field that the enemy ships were using as cover. Alex gripped the side of the cockpit, bracing himself as the shuttle rocked and jerked with every hit. "We're going to have to get creative here, Commander," Morgan said, his voice strained as he concentrated on dodging the enemy's fire. "Take us into the asteroid belt," Alex ordered, his mind working fast. "We'll use the rocks for cover." Morgan didn't hesitate. The shuttle darted into the dense asteroid field, weaving between massive rocks that appeared out of nowhere. The enemy ships followed, their laser blasts lighting up the dark space around them. But Alex knew they wouldn't be able to track them as easily in the chaos of the asteroid belt. "Hold on," Morgan shouted, jerking the shuttle sharply to avoid a collision. Alex gritted his teeth, watching as one of the enemy ships took a direct hit and exploded in a flash of light. They were taking out the enemy, one ship at a time, but they couldn't let their guard down. "We've got more coming in from behind," Morgan shouted. Alex's mind raced. There had to be a way to make it out of this alive. And then he remembered something. Kellery had mentioned a hidden jump gate, one that could lead them to a safer location. "Calorie," Alex yelled. "Can you guide us to the jump gate?" For a moment, there was silence. Then Calorie's voice crackled through the comms. "I'll mark the coordinates for you. It's the only way you'll escape them." Alex gave a quick nod. "Morgan, plot the course." With the coordinates locked in, Alex's pulse quickened. The jump gate was their only hope. If they could get there in time, they might just escape the relentless pursuers. "Brace yourselves," Alex said, his voice steady, but his mind was on the future. If they could survive this, they would be one step closer to uncovering the secrets of the Arcane Collective and stopping them before it was too late. The shuttle shuddered violently as it emerged from the jump gate, the sudden transition from faster-than-light travel to normal space, making Alex's stomach lurch. The system they arrived in was quiet, eerie even. A small, barren planet orbited a dying star, its surface a desolate landscape of cracked plains and deep ravines. It was nothing like the lush world Alex had first seen when he met Calorie. This place, however, held something far more dangerous, a key to understanding the Arcane Collective. "Coordinates match," Morgan said, his voice tight as he scanned the readouts. "This is the location, but there's nothing here, just emptiness." Alex turned to Calorie, who sat in the corner of the shuttle, her face grim as she studied the planet through the viewfinder. "What is this place?" Calorie's eyes narrowed, her expression distant. This was once a research facility, abandoned long ago. The Arcane Collective once used it to study advanced technology, alien knowledge that could alter the course of the galaxy. The Tevrani never found it, but I did. And now, it's the last chance we have to stop the Collective. Alex studied her, trying to read her face. Why was it abandoned? "Because the research here was too dangerous," Calorie said, her voice soft, almost regretful. "They thought the knowledge was too powerful, even for them. They locked it away, leaving this place to die. But the Arcane Collective, they have a way of resurrecting things long buried." Morgan's voice broke through the tension in the room. "Are we just supposed to land here? There's nothing on the scanners, no signs of life." "Land anyway," Alex ordered, his tone firm. "We need answers, and this place might be the only way to get them. We can't afford to waste time." The shuttle descended through the thick atmosphere, the surface of the planet coming into sharper focus. It was a lifeless landscape, blackened rocks, dust storms, and towering structures that looked as if they'd been abandoned for centuries. It was a planet on the brink of death, but Alex felt something else, too, a sense of hidden power. Something about this place felt important. As they touched down on the cracked ground, the shuttle's engines hummed down to a low buzz. The door opened with a hiss, and Alex stepped out first, his boots crunching against the dry, desolate surface. He looked around, scanning the horizon for any signs of danger. "This place is like a graveyard," Morgan muttered, looking out over the empty expanse. Calorie stepped out next, her eyes scanning the distant structures. "The research facility is over there," she said, pointing toward a large, dark building in the distance. It looked like a massive fortress, its walls covered in strange alien symbols. Alex didn't hesitate. "Let's go." The trio moved quickly toward the facility, their footsteps echoing in the quiet. As they approached, the air seemed to grow colder, and a strange hum filled the atmosphere. The building stood tall and silent, as if waiting for them to enter. Inside, they found rows of ancient consoles and databanks, covered in dust and cobwebs. The air was thick with the scent of decay. Alex approached one of the consoles and gently wiped away the dust. The screen flickered to life, displaying cryptic symbols that made no sense to him. Calorie stepped beside him, her fingers moving over the controls with surprising ease. "This is it," she whispered, her voice filled with awe and fear. "The key to everything." Alex looked at her, realizing just how deep she was involved in all of this. She wasn't just helping them. She was tied to this mystery, perhaps more than she had ever let on. "What are we looking at, Kellery?" he asked. "The collective's plan," she said softly, "and humanity's role in it." Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from behind them, followed by the unmistakable sound of heavy footsteps. "We're not alone," Morgan said, drawing his weapon. Alex's heart raced. They had come to find answers. But now it seemed the answers might just be their doom. The sound of approaching footsteps grew louder, echoing through the dark halls of the abandoned facility. Alex's hand instinctively went to his sidearm, his fingers tightening around the handle. He could feel the tension in the air, the heavy silence that had surrounded them now shattered by the unmistakable noise of danger drawing near. Kellery's face was pale, her eyes wide with a mix of fear and determination. She looked at Alex, then at Morgan. "We're not alone," she whispered. "Someone, or something, has been watching us. We have to move, now," Alex ordered, his voice steady. But his mind raced. He wasn't sure who or what was approaching, but he had no intention of finding out the hard way. The group quickly retreated into the shadows, ducking behind broken consoles and overturned tables. Alex's heart pounded in his chest as he tried to listen for any sign of their pursuers. His eyes flicked toward Kellery. She was visibly shaken, but there was something more, an underlying tension he hadn't noticed before. Something had changed in her since they arrived at this place. "We can't stay hidden forever," Morgan muttered, scanning the dim hallway ahead. "If they find us, we're outnumbered." Kellery nodded, her expression hardening. "We won't be outnumbered for long. I know how to disable the security systems, but I need more time." "Do it," Alex said without hesitation. "We'll cover you." Kellery quickly moved to one of the nearby consoles, her hands flying over the controls. The hum of machines powered on around them, but Alex didn't feel any safer. The sound of footsteps continued to grow closer, and he could see the silhouettes of figures moving down the corridor. Whoever, or whatever, they were not friendly. "Ready?" Alex asked, his voice tight. "Almost," Kellery replied, not looking up. "Just a few more seconds." The figures appeared at the end of the hall. Alex's pulse quickened. They were humanoid in shape, but their movements were too smooth, too precise. These weren't just random mercenaries or thieves. Alex's instincts screamed that these were something far more dangerous. "Now," Kellery shouted, just as the figures came into view. Suddenly, the lights above flickered, and a loud mechanical whine filled the air. The security systems had powered up, but instead of alerting the intruders, it sent the entire facility into lockdown. Doors slammed shut, and the lights switched to a deep red, bathing the room in an eerie glow. The intruders stopped, confused. Alex didn't waste a second. He motioned for Morgan to flank left while he took the right. As the figures hesitated, unsure of what was happening, Alex lunged forward, his weapon raised. But the figures weren't ordinary. They were fast, too fast. In the blink of an eye, one of them moved toward him, its hand swiping the weapon out of his grip. Alex barely had time to react before it shoved him back, sending him crashing into the wall. Morgan's shot rang out, striking one of the figures in the chest, but it barely seemed to notice. The figure stood motionless, like a machine, before slowly turning toward Morgan. "Stay back," Alex shouted to Morgan, getting back on his feet. The figure's face remained hidden behind a dark, featureless mask. Its movements were mechanical, almost inhuman. It was clear now. They weren't dealing with ordinary people. These were soldiers, enhanced or artificial in some way, and they were after Kellery. Alex's thoughts raced. They had to escape, but the entrance was blocked, and they were outgunned. The only chance they had now was to use the environment to their advantage. "Kellery," he called, his voice urgent. "Do you have anything else?" She looked up from the console, her face pale but resolute. "I can overload the facility's power core. It will give us a chance to escape, but we need to move fast." Alex gave a sharp nod. "Do it." As Calorie scrambled to override the system, Alex and Morgan took cover, watching the enemy's every move. The situation was dire, but Alex had no choice but to trust Calorie, no matter how much he wondered whether he truly understood her motivations. Could he trust her completely, or was there more she wasn't telling him? The fate of their lives, and perhaps the galaxy, depended on the answers she was hiding. You said. The power core hummed ominously, filling the darkened facility with a low, steady vibration. Alex stood motionless, his heart pounding in his chest as he watched Calorie work quickly, her fingers dancing over the control panel. Every second felt like an eternity, and the threat closing in on them grew stronger with each passing moment. The figures, those strange, enhanced soldiers, were getting closer. Alex could feel the heat of their unnatural presence, their every move precise and deadly. They were machines, not people. They had no fear, no hesitation, and they were relentless. How much longer, Calorie? Alex asked through gritted teeth, his eyes darting to Morgan, who was crouched low, his gun ready. I'm almost there, Calorie said, her voice steady despite the pressure. She didn't look up, her eyes focused on the complex interface. Just need to reroute the power. This will overload the facility's main systems and create a temporary blackout. Alex nodded, his mind racing. A blackout would give them the window they needed to escape, but it would only last a few minutes, and they were surrounded. He looked at the soldiers advancing toward them, their movements slow but sure. They knew exactly what they were doing, and they knew they were running out of time. I'll hold them off, Alex said, turning to Morgan. You stay close to Calorie. Make sure she finishes this. Morgan nodded, not needing to be told twice. He moved toward Calorie, keeping an eye on the approaching enemies as Alex stepped forward, his pulse quickening. The first of the enhanced soldiers lunged, its movement swift, faster than any human could move. Alex barely had time to raise his weapon before the figure swatted it out of his hands with a single strike. He had no choice but to rely on his training, hand-to-hand combat. The soldier came at him again, but Alex ducked under its strike, landing a quick punch to its chest. It barely flinched, its cold mask staring down at him with empty eyes. Alex gritted his teeth, knowing this wouldn't be easy. They weren't just fighting for their lives. They were fighting for the fate of the galaxy. Another soldier approached from the left, but before it could close the distance, a shot rang out, striking it in the shoulder. It staggered back, but didn't fall. Stay down, damn it, Morgan shouted, firing again. Alex took advantage of the distraction, sidestepping the first soldier's next attack and using its momentum to slam it into a nearby console. Sparks flew as the soldier crumpled, temporarily stunned. Alex didn't hesitate. He grabbed the soldier's discarded weapon and fired, sending a shot straight through the chest of the second soldier. But there were more coming. The power core's hum grew louder, and Calorie's face was set in determination as she finally pressed the last button. It's done, she called. Get ready. Before Alex could respond, the entire facility went dark. The eerie red lights flickered and died, leaving them in total darkness. Alex's breath caught in his throat. This was their chance. Move, now, Alex shouted, running toward Calorie and Morgan. He didn't look back, trusting that the blackout would give them the edge they needed. The three of them dashed toward the exit, the sounds of soldiers stumbling behind them in the darkness. They could hear the clatter of heavy boots, the whir of mechanical limbs, but they didn't stop. They had to make it out of here. The entrance was just ahead, but it was blocked by a massive steel door. Calorie hurried to a control panel near the door and began working quickly, her fingers moving like lightning. We're almost there, she whispered. Suddenly, the door behind them slammed open with a deafening noise. More of the soldiers flooded in, and Alex's stomach dropped. They couldn't keep running forever. We need to go, Calorie, now, Alex shouted, his voice desperate. Calorie's eyes flickered to him, then back to the panel. "I'm trying," she cried, her voice tight with fear. And then, with a loud hiss, the door finally slid open. "Go," Alex yelled, pushing Kellery and Morgan through the opening. But before he could follow, he felt a strong hand grab his arm. One of the soldiers had caught up with him. Alex kicked back with all his strength, slamming the soldier into the wall, but there was no time to fight. The sound of more soldiers approaching made his heart race. He couldn't risk getting caught. In that moment, Alex made a split-second decision. He dove through the door just as it began to close, narrowly avoiding the soldier's grasp. The door slammed shut behind them with a resounding thud. Breathing heavily, Alex turned to Kellery, his heart still pounding in his chest. "What was that back there? Who are they?" he asked. Kellery's face was pale, her hands shaking. Those were arcane agents," she whispered. "And they're just the beginning." The escape from the darkened facility had been a narrow one. The door had barely closed behind them before the first blast hit the surface, sending a shockwave through the ground. The arcane agents had been relentless, but for now, they had managed to escape, only barely. Alex, Kellery, and Morgan found themselves back aboard the shuttle, engines running at full power. The distant planet of the abandoned research facility quickly disappeared behind them as they shot back into space, the stars stretching out before them like the endless void. "We've bought ourselves some time," Alex said, his voice calm but his mind still racing. "But we can't keep running forever. We need a plan." Kellery was staring out at the stars, her face tense, her thoughts clearly far away. She had barely spoken since they left the facility. Alex had never seen her like this, usually so composed, now shaken to the core by the encounter with the arcane agents. "Kellery," Alex said softly, "what's our next move?" She turned to face him, her eyes darkened with the weight of what they had learned. "We need to find allies," she said. "We can't do this alone. The Arcane Collective's influence is far-reaching. We need more firepower, more resources. The Tevrani won't help us. They're too divided. But there are others out there who will." Alex felt a sense of urgency wash over him. The clock was ticking. Every minute they spent in space was a minute the Arcane Collective could use to grow stronger, to find them. "Who do you have in mind?" he asked, his tone serious. "There's a small faction of mercenaries operating in this region," Kellery explained. "They're known as the Free Stars. They're a mix of different species, humans, Tevrani, and others. They don't care about politics, but they do care about survival. If we can convince them that the Arcane Collective is a real threat, they might help us." Alex exchanged a glance with Morgan. The idea of working with mercenaries wasn't ideal, but it was the only option they had. Time was running out, and they couldn't afford to be picky. "All right," Alex said, his voice firm. "Set a course for the Free Stars. Let's see if they'll listen." Hours later, the shuttle dropped out of faster-than-light travel near a remote space station, an outpost that seemed to be a hub for the Free Stars. The station was old, worn, and barely held together, but it was exactly what Alex had expected. These were not the elite forces he had worked with before. These were survivors. Kellery stood by the control panel, her eyes scanning the station on the screen. "This is it," she said, her voice steady. "Prepare yourselves. The Free Stars are not going to just welcome us with open arms. They'll test us first." As the shuttle docked, Alex could hear the clank of metal, the hiss of airlocks opening. The moment the door slid open, a group of armed individuals, mostly humans, but with a few Tevrani, stepped inside. Their eyes were cold, scanning every detail of the shuttle and its occupants. One of them, a tall human with dark hair and a scar across his face, stepped forward. "I'm Captain Rax," he said, his voice gravelly. "You're here to talk business, or you're here to waste our time." Alex didn't hesitate. "We're here because we need your help. The Arcane Collective is waking up, and they're coming for everyone. If we don't stop them, There won't be anyone left to fight. Rax's eyes narrowed, and for a moment, Alex thought he might throw them back out into space. But then Rax's expression softened, just a little. "I've heard rumors," Rax said, his voice quiet. "But rumors are just that. We don't fight ghosts. We fight real enemies." He paused, studying Alex closely. "Prove it." Calorie stepped forward, her voice calm but filled with authority. "We have proof. We barely escaped an attack by arcane agents. They're more than just rumors. They're here, and they're already gathering forces." Rax looked between them, his expression hardening. "All right," he said after a long pause. "I'll give you a chance. You've got my attention. We'll meet with the rest of the crew, but you better have more than just words." As Rax motioned for them to follow, Alex felt a weight lift off his shoulders. They had an ally, at least for now, but the real challenge had just begun. With the Free Stars on their side, they might have a fighting chance, but they still had to convince them to take a stand against the Arcane Collective. And time was running out. They were on the edge of something big. But the question remained, would they be able to stop the Arcane Collective before it was too late? The cold steel of the Free-Starred ship felt solid beneath Alex's feet as he paced the command deck. The crew was assembled, the room filled with murmurs and uneasy glances. Rax had gathered his forces, about 100 men and women, mercenaries of every species and background, from hardened humans to Tevrani warriors. They were a tough group, but Alex could sense the doubt in the air. They were all waiting for something, a reason to believe. Calorie stood beside him, her expression unreadable, as if she were still calculating the risks. "We've told them everything," Alex said, his voice tight. "But I still don't think they believe us. They don't understand what we're up against." "They will," Calorie replied quietly, her eyes scanning the faces in the room. "When they see what we're up against." Rax stepped forward, his voice cutting through the room. "All right, everyone, listen up. We've heard what these two have to say. Arcane Collective. Blah, blah, blah. We're supposed to believe they're a threat, but we've all heard stories like this before. People get scared, start talking about ghost stories. Well, I don't fight ghosts." Alex stepped up, locking eyes with Rax. "You think it's a ghost story. Then why did you see the footage of the arcane agents attacking us at the research facility? They're not a story. They're here, and they're coming for everyone. If we don't stop them, they'll destroy us all. Every last one of us. This isn't just about survival. It's about saving the galaxy from an enemy that wants to control every life in it." There was a long silence, the weight of Alex's words sinking into the room. He could feel the tension building. The Free Stars were a cynical, self-serving group, but even they couldn't ignore the truth in Alex's voice. He wasn't just talking about survival anymore. He was talking about a future where they had to choose, stand up or be destroyed. Calorie stepped forward, her voice calm but intense. "We don't have time to argue. The collective has already started awakening. They're spreading out through the galaxy, gathering forces, rebuilding. If we don't act now, they'll have too much power. They'll destroy entire star systems, your homes, your families, everything you've ever fought for." Rax's eyes flicked to the others, his jaw clenched. He wasn't an easy man to convince, but even he could see the truth in Calorie's words. "Fine," he said, after a tense pause. "We'll help you, but this has to be quick. We don't have time to waste. We strike now, or we risk losing everything." Alex nodded. "We hit them where it hurts. We know they've been consolidating power at a central base, deep in arcane-controlled space. We've got a lead on their location, and with your help, we can take them down before they can fully recover." The crew of the Free Stars shuffled, their voices low, but there was a spark in the air. The skepticism was starting to fade. They were a group of survivors, but now, for the first time, they had something to fight for. Rax turned to his crew. Prepare the ships. We're going to war. Get everything ready. We don't fight for money today. We fight for the galaxy." Alex felt a surge of relief. It wasn't much, but it was enough. With the Free Stars on their side, they finally had the numbers to make a real difference. They had allies, firepower, and most importantly, a chance. As the crew began to mobilize, Kellery placed a hand on Alex's shoulder. "This is it, Alex. We either win this or everything we fought for is gone. No more second chances." Alex turned to her, his resolve hardening. "Then we fight. For freedom. For everyone." The stars outside their ship seemed to stretch farther than ever before as they prepared to take the fight to the Arcane Collective. It was a battle for survival, for the future of every species in the galaxy. And it was one they couldn't afford to lose. As the Free Stars fleet powered up, ready to jump into the heart of arcane space, Alex knew that the real fight had only just begun. They were about to face the greatest threat the galaxy had ever known. But with the stakes higher than ever, Alex felt ready. They had no choice but to win. Alex stood at the front of the command deck, watching the stars blur as their fleet of ships jumped into arcane-controlled space. The Free Stars, now united under their cause, were with them. Hundreds of ships, each filled with warriors, mercenaries, and survivors ready to risk everything. But as the distance to the arcane base grew smaller, the weight of what they were about to face pressed harder on his shoulders. "This is it," Morgan said quietly from beside him. "No turning back now." Alex nodded, his heart beating steadily. There was no time to second-guess. They had to strike now, before the Arcane Collective could fully rebuild. If they waited, they might never get another chance. Kellery stepped up, her face set with determination. She had become a steady presence by his side throughout this mission, her knowledge of the Arcane Collective the only reason they had gotten this far. But even she couldn't hide the edge of worry in her eyes. "The Collective knows we're coming," she said, her voice soft but firm. "They've already mobilized. This won't be easy." "I know," Alex replied. "But we're not here for easy. We're here to stop them." The fleet continued its journey toward the Arcane Base, a massive, heavily fortified station orbiting a dying star. Its sheer size made it a terrifying sight. The Arcane Collective was not a force to be underestimated, and it had been building its power for centuries. Yet here they were, ready to challenge it head-on. As they neared the base, the first wave of defense came at them. Swarms of arcane drones, faster and more deadly than anything they had ever faced, shot out from the station, blocking their path. A violent wave of laser fire lit up the space between them, causing their ships to shake from the impacts. "Shields up. Return fire," Alex ordered, his voice unwavering despite the chaos unfolding before them. The Free Stars fleet opened fire, their weapons lighting up the void. Explosions erupted, sending debris flying. But the drones were relentless. Alex watched as one of the Free Stars' ships was hit, spiraling out of control as its engines exploded. The crew inside wouldn't make it. The sight only hardened Alex's resolve. They couldn't let the sacrifices be in vain. They had to push forward. "Hold tight," Kellery said, gripping the control panel in front of her as their ship took a hit. "We're not far from the station. We just need to break through." Alex nodded, his eyes scanning the chaos. The Arcane Base was now in full view, its massive towers stretching into the dark sky. The ship's sensors pinged as new threats approach. "They're launching more," Morgan warned, pointing to the redouts. Alex clenched his fists. "We've got one shot at this. We need to get inside the base, disable their core systems. Then let's do it," Kellery said, already preparing the ship for the final push. The Free Stars fleet pressed on, weaving between the enemy drones. A massive explosion rocked their ship as a drone slammed into the side. Alex could hear the crew inside scrambling, but they held steady. With a final, desperate push, they broke through the enemy defenses and entered the heart of the Arcane Base. Inside the station, the air was cold and sterile, the metallic walls lined with strange alien technology. The arcane collective's presence was everywhere, pulsing through the machines that control the facility. "We're almost there," Kellery said, as they navigated the dark halls of the base. "Just a little further." But as they reached the central core, they were met with an unexpected force, a final line of defense. More arcane agents, larger, stronger, and faster than before, stood blocking their way. Alex's heart sank. This was it, the last obstacle between them and victory. "Time to end this," Alex muttered under his breath. He motioned for Morgan to take the lead, and together they charged into the fray. The battle was fierce, but the team had grown stronger, more united. The arcane agents fell one by one, but not without a fight. At last, with the final agent down, Kellery reached the central control panel and began typing rapidly, her fingers moving faster than Alex thought possible. "The core's shutting down," she said, her voice steady. "This is it. We've done it." The station trembled, and for a moment, Alex thought they might not make it out in time. But the systems began to power down. The lights flickered. The arcane collective's hold on the galaxy was weakening. "We've won," Alex said, a sense of relief flooding him. But he knew the fight wasn't truly over. The galaxy would never be the same, but humanity had earned its place in the stars. As they boarded the shuttle to leave the crumbling station, Kellery stood beside him, her gaze softening. "I thought our paths would never cross again, Alex, but I'm glad they did." Alex smiled, his heart full. "Me too, Kellery. Me too."